So I'm here in front of the Old Penitentiary, in front of this great wall. The wall and the towers were built in 1896, when the original prison was built quite a time before that, in 1872. So in all the time that this wall and tower have been here, for 79 of those years, guards paced these walls and lived in these towers 24/7. That's a lot of pacing, a lot of wearing down of the stonework up there. When the prison closed in 1973 and then reopened as a museum later that year, the elements continued to batter this wall and this tower, and of course, a few earthquakes added some interesting damage to it as well. And then unfortunately in the last decade, we've had vandalism occur. Once windows are broken in the tower, it seems to invite more vandalism. So we're raising money to save the tower. We really want to restore it and preserve it for future generations. This tower, as the other three, really bore witness to the human stories that happened inside these walls for the men, women, and children who lived here and the guards who looked after them and looked after the public. So we're trying to raise $30,000 because restoring an emblem like this is not easy, and preserving its historic value is very complicated and requires very particular masonry and craftsmen. So the windows alone are going to cost more than $8,000 to replace. The two doors are going to cost over $7,000, and another $8,000 to $10,000 actually for those particular craftsmen. And when you look at the tower, you can tell some of the capstones have been damaged. We need to repair some of the masonry in between and really take care of the inside as well, because there's been vandalism inside of that tower. Thank you for joining us tonight at Wine, Eats, and Artifacts, our first virtual event. Please go online to wea.afrogs.org and bid on auction items so you can help us raise the funds to save this tower. Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone to the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts. Now, this is our very first time, as Deanna was just saying, our very first time doing it virtually. And as we all know, our world has changed so much. And about 5-6 months ago, for especially all of us here in Idaho, I think was when the real impact hit. And we went from being able to have those in-person galas that we have come so accustomed to, of being able to come together, 200-300 people or more inside a room, all with that one common goal, and that is to be able to raise money, to raise awareness for whatever that cause happens to be. Well, with our world kind of stopping, what didn't stop was the need. The need is still out there. And with the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts, this is something that is so special because it brings the two organizations together of the Idaho Historical Society and the Foundation for Idaho History. And they are working so closely together to preserve the same, but they have their own goals that they are working on hand in hand with each other, with the one common goal of preserving Idaho history. And this year, so excited that one of my favorite places was the subject of the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts, and that's the Old Penitentiary. And specifically tonight, Guard Tower 1. Now, here's a chance for all of us to come together and make a difference. But as we get started tonight, the fact that you found us, you're already half the way through the starting of this because you're able to see, you're able to hear us talking about it. Now what we need you to do, if you haven't already, is go ahead and text the word Old Pen. Now that's all one word, no spaces, just Old Pen to 22454. So Old Pen to the number 22454. You're going to get a link back. That link is going to take you right to your registration and, of course, to all of the items that you can be able to bid on tonight to help preserve Tower 1. Now, as we make our way through this next hour, we're going to be giving you a lot of history, a lot of the significance of this guard tower and what it means in so many different levels to our history as a town, as a state, and as a country. So please, let's all enjoy this together and give us all your comments. If you've got comments on social media or questions, any of that, go right ahead, please. We'd love to hear from you. Even if it's just saying hi and where you're watching from. Maybe you're watching from work or from the comfort of your living room, because now that is what has changed. With us not being able to have that big party, all of us together, well, we still are all together, just in a different way. and maybe not quite as dressed up as you would have been otherwise. You're sitting there in your PJs with the kids and having finished up school virtually probably today and got dinner ready. We are all still here together, and we have an even bigger impact now because it's not just who could be in one room, but all of us are together for one cause. And that is Guard Tower 1 of the Old Penitentiary. If you have any questions tonight, feel free. We've got folks on the hotline right now that can take your call, 208-807-3808, and ask any questions you would like there. And as we talked about the two organizations working together to preserve our history, and we've got so many different ways and layers of how they work together. And so we thought a couple of folks should give you a little better explanation as to how they work together so well. And we're going to start with Dixie on the importance of the architecture, the importance of this and significance of this relationship between the two organizations.
The Foundation for Idaho History is actually a private nonprofit group, and what we do is we provide the Idaho State Historical Society with advocacy, connections, financial support, and friendship. And through those different things, we're able to support the Idaho State Historical Society in doing all the things that they need to do. When we get ready for the Wine Eats and Artifacts, it seems I always get two questions. First question is, where did you come up with that name? Well, the very first Wine Eats and Artifacts event was held 12 years ago, strangely enough, in my backyard. And we had wine, we had food, and the Idaho State Historical Society was so kind and brought some amazing artifacts. So from there, Wine Eats and Artifacts, it just stuck. So today, I'm happy to present the 12th annual Wine Eats and Artifacts. A year ago, when we started this planning, who would ever have guessed that this year we would be in the middle of a pandemic? I was so afraid to how this would turn out, but I realized as time progressed that this would allow us some incredible opportunities that we would never have had before this time. We will be able to reach out and touch all the folks all across the state. People will be able to see really close with all the beautiful videos and information that we're presenting tonight. They'll be able to see really closely exactly what we are doing, who we are as well. Now, additionally, one of the things that I always like to do with these events is I always want to make sure everybody learns something about the artifact or the history or the story behind it. So I have a few little tidbits. I'm not going to tell you very much because I want to pique your interest just enough so that you'll come out and join us, eventually come out to the Old Pen, or at least do some research. There were 4 things about the Old Pen that I think a lot of people don't realize. First of all, the Old Pen, the Idaho Old Pen is one of only 4 state territorial prisons that is still open today for visitors. The others being Arizona, Wyoming, and Montana. The Old Pen in Idaho was actually open for 101 years. And at the end of that 101 years, what happened was it was decommissioned and then it was placed on the National Registry for Historic Places, where it has remained today since 1974. Another thing about the Old Pen that a lot of people may not realize is this beautiful pen, this beautiful stonework that is done, was actually quarried from the Table Rock quarry right above us, and still is one of the most hallmark landmarks in all of Idaho. Another thing about the Old Pen is we as a historical society and the Foundation for Idaho History, we have a responsibility of stewardship, not only within these four walls, but outside of these four walls. And there is a very rich tribal history around in the grounds surrounding the old pen. You know, and the last thing I think that people don't realize is this tower is actually, it speaks like a beacon to all the 500,000 or more people who come to this beautiful historic district every single year. So with that, again, thank you for coming. I appreciate your support. We need your support.
Well, see, there you're already starting to get a little bit more about how these two fabulous organizations work together, about the significance of Guard Tower 1, about our history as a whole, and how it brings us to where we are today. And someone who's kind of an expert in this subject, I'm going to bring out here with me. Amber, come on out here and join me.
Well, hey, Corey, how you doing?
Amber is with the Old Pen. I'm doing fabulous. And now you've been with them for about 15 years?
15 years, started as a weekend tour guide. Yeah.
And so here, 15 years later, you're kind of our resident expert tonight, right?
I know a little bit about the place.
Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to put that to a test.
Oh.
I didn't actually tell Amber about this, but
Okay.
I'll tell you about it because this includes you as well, and we're going to have a little fun and maybe, hopefully learn a few things as well about the Old Penitentiary and our guard tower. Now, when you first started 15 years ago, what was one of the most surprising first stories that you had?
I can honestly say probably finding out that our youngest inmate was 10 years old.
Yes.
Now, of course, I've worked there for 15 years, but I was 10 years old the first time I ever visited. So to have that knowledge, and of course, there's a lot to the story, a lot to all those stories that we get to tell and we get to preserve daily.
Well, and what a difference it was then.
Right.
How we learn from our history, how things were done there as opposed to now, and how we proceed in the future. So there's so many layers to this, and one of the ways to be able to help preserve that history tonight is to get to bidding on some of the items. We've got some fabulous items as well.
Oh, amazing ones.
Now, one of those, this one I want myself, but you're going to have to get those bids in, because otherwise I might get you on this one. Number 209 is the Guard Tower watercolor. And this is actually of Guard Tower...
This would be Guard Tower 3. Goes
Guard Tower 3.
Counterclockwise, yeah. So a great view from the Botanical Gardens, who's a wonderful partner of ours as well.
And it is just such a beautiful piece. And really what you're seeing right now and the photo that you saw when you were doing your bidding, it doesn't do it justice to the way it looks in person. It is just such an amazing representation of the beauty and, I guess, the beast.
Right, that juxtaposition of, this icon of a prison, of kind of suffering within the beauty of the Botanical Gardens, which is right next to us.
And the great thing with this, as with all of the items that you're bidding on tonight, as you hang this in your office proudly or in your home, every time you look at it, every time someone comes over and asks you about it, you have the knowledge of knowing that you helped to preserve this history, and you can share that story with them. How you got it, why it was important, and why they should be a part of this movement as well to be able to preserve our history. So it really is a great representation of that.
Absolutely.
And now we heard a little bit from Dixie about the partnership between the Idaho Historical Society and the Foundation for Idaho History. But now we have Jan to kind of give the other side, and again, a little bit more about the relationship between the two, but then also a little bit more about the architecture, about the impact, as we've already started to talk about here, of the Old Pen in particular tonight, and our history and how it impacts us today.
The State Historical Society, I think, has been an incredible leader in preserving and promoting Idaho's history since 1881. And we do that through a number of programs. Those include education programs, exhibitions, the great exhibits that we have at the Idaho State Capitol, all kinds of research through our state archives. We are the records center for the state of Idaho. So we have a number of programs that we provide both here in the Boise, Treasure Valley area and around the state. But let's talk a little bit about why history is essential. Why does it matter? Why should we all care about these programs and services that are delivered by our agency? Well, of course, history is essential for ourselves. When we think about our family's history, where we came from, why we are who we are today, and the values that we have, that comes from our own personal identity. And then, of course, history is essential for our community and our community identity. And that's where I really want to circle back around and talk a little bit about this event tonight. But it's also essential for our future. History provides context for decision making. It provides us grounding and rooting in who we are and how we want to think about our future and the legacy that we all want to leave to the people that will follow us. But circling back to that community identity and why history is important for community identity, and places like the Old Idaho Penitentiary. History and historic preservation builds that anchor of who we are. And when we think about a historic site like the Old Idaho Penitentiary, what this gives us is a sense of place. That, in terms of thinking about how we think about community anchors and how we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, who left us anchors, if you will, as in terms of community identity. Really important message. And then the other thing that I wanted to do to build on Dixie's comments about the tower, it's a beacon for the 500,000 people who come here, of course. But once it's restored, we hope that it will be lit. And so as people think about just sort of an iconic image of the site, that it will be a beautiful beacon at night, not dissimilar to the cross up on top of Table Rock, where we know people think about that as a beacon to our whole city. This becomes a beacon at the base of this amazing historic site. So the Old Penn Historic District and the things that we are responsible for include this entire site, including up to and on top of Table Rock. So we have a really large portfolio of responsibility here at the Old Idaho Penn, and this will be a beacon for people entering the site at this level. And we're really, really excited about having this work done. And thank you so much for your participation this evening.
If you haven't already, make sure and text the word Old Penn, all one word, no spaces there, to the number 22454, and you can be able to help to preserve that history. You can have some wonderful items to remind you of your commitment each and every day when you look at them, when you look at the photos of the experiences that you're going to take because of your donations and because of your generosity. And it takes all of us together. It takes that village to be able to preserve. Not one person can be able to make the difference. But you know what? All of us together, that's where we're truly able to make magical things happen. And part of that magic is not forgetting our history, not trying to just, ignore it, but no, learning from it and moving forward together into our future together and making new history for the generations to come. All right, now, Amber, one of my fondest memories of the Old Penn, well, when I first moved here about 20 years ago, it was one of the first places that I went, and I fell in love. I fell in love with architecture. I fell in love with the vibe, the feeling, the history, the thinking about what those times must have been like, just all of that. And so I went all the time, and I would take any friends, any family that would come into town. They had to go to the Old Penn with me, and they fell in love with it too. And there's no way not to. So much that I loved it that it became the subject of the backdrop for family photos with my daughters and I about 15 years ago when they were much smaller. And I got these incredible photos of the walls of the Old Penn and my daughters and I. It was funny. I always used to tease them when they were young. I said, if we actually had any talent and could sing, this would be our album cover.
This is the family band.
Because it was such a great, unfortunately, none of us can sing or play instruments, so that was kind of out. But it is still, again, how that preserves that history of my time with my family brought in the old pen as part of that.
Right. It's about capturing a moment, and that's
Yeah.
what we try to do every day with the history. And of course, that's what maybe you guys, or what we can do is capture those moments for a family with all those rich textures, the sandstone, the flowers, all of that.
And when you have this beautiful backdrop that just naturally is spectacular, and you couple that with having an amazing photographer like Alan Ansel, and you have a winning combination for years and years of history for your family.
Photogenic on all levels. You got your family in there, you got a good photographer. It's a good way to go.
And that is item number 600. You can be able to get that sitting at the pen, go around and get some fabulous shots that, again, when you're telling all the rest of the family or the friends about this, you can explain this history of the pen and what it meant and what it means to you. So if you haven't already, come on, get those texts in. You can text the word old pen to the number 22454. Get over there and start your bidding, because coming up here in just a couple of minutes, going to be doing a drawing here for everyone who is already registered.
It's so easy, right?
$100 gift card. This is for Amazon, and we all use Amazon, especially now. I think I ordered just about everything in my life from Amazon anymore. And so $100 Amazon gift card, and all you have to do, and it's absolutely free to get registered, is go get registered and then just start looking. And I defy you to not find something, if not many things, that you would love to have and experience there on the auction site.
As long as they don't outbid me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, what you got your eye on there, Amber? I'm gonna have to make sure we're not outbidding each other. All right, now one of the things that Jan was talking about just the few minutes ago was about that place in our community.
Right.
And I loved how she put that yes, it has the impact on us as individuals, as families, as a community, as a state, as, all the different ways that our history impacts our lives.
Right. It creates that sense of place, and
Yes.
it puts the context of history into where we are now and building our future. So it impacts the decisions we make, and impacts all of those things that we think about. And we do that every day at the Old Idaho Penitentiary, capture that history so that we can build today and a better future.
Well, and all around the pen, when you're downtown Boise, and the architecture of the pen, you just see from the early days of Boise and of our great town and great state, the incredible architecture. And Jan went on to talk a little bit more about some of the architects and how they impacted not just the old pen, but our Treasure Valley landscape.
James King is really a pioneer in architecture in Idaho. He came here in 1888 from Pennsylvania, and he designed this amazing facade and the administration building and the walls and the towers here at the Old Idaho Penitentiary. And again, we are raising funds tonight to be able to save Tower 1 here at the Old Idaho Pen. The architecture story is amazing. So Mr. King, one of the pioneer leaders of architecture, also designed in the C.W. Moore House, the Bishop's House, and the bank building that now houses the Fork Restaurant, among many others. Maybe a small-known fact, though, is he also partnered with John Tortolet, and they designed things together. And Mr. Tortolet here on the site partnered in designing the Women's Ward and the Warden's House. And it's a reminder to all of us that history provides us a sense of place, it provides us a sense of perspective, it provides us a lens through our leaders of the past and connects us to today. Thank you again so much for being here this evening.
See, I love it. I love every layer of what we're talking about tonight, from the architecture of the buildings to the people to all of that. And it's so now, when we first brought Amber out with us, I had said that I had a little surprise for Amber and for you too, because this involves you. We're going to do a little Stump the Expert, since Amber is our resident expert here on the Old Pen. And we've got some prizes for you. These are really cool. Old Idaho Penitentiary, little bandanas, great for when you're doing your shopping, whatever that happens to be. And then also some shot glasses with some nefarious characters on here. We've got Roy Williams, Booze and Battle Axe.
That's right. His name, his pseudonym was Battle Axe. So there you go.
Don't mess with him. Served 15 months, 13 days in 1926.
For bootlegging.
For bootlegging.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
And it looks like we have a couple of bootleggers here because we also have Hannah Folden.
You can't keep the ladies out.
Bootleg and briber. She served 1 month and 9 days back in 1923. So
Tried to bribe the officials that arrested her.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not help her cause at all, did it?
No, it did not.
No. All right, now Amber, we had some folks send in some questions ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you for not calling this segment Stump the Chump. I appreciate that. Okay.
There was talk about that, but I stood up for you, Amber.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't let
Expert.
him do it.
Okay.
All right, so our first question that is coming in, and here's where you come in. You put your answer, if you know the answer, get it out there on Facebook, on the comments for the live event tonight, and just get them in there. And someone's going to be winning some of these fabulous prizes here. All right, now the first one, Amber, how many, and we were just talking about one of them here with bootleg and briber Hannah, how many women were incarcerated at the old penitentiary?
All right, this feels a little unfair. We just finished the numbered book about
right.
the women inmate, and which you can also get on the auction block. 216. There were 216 women between 1887 and 1968. So I got that fresh on the mind. So.
All right, well, I think she probably got us all beat, quickly, but if you knew, go ahead and get it in there, and we're going to randomly do a drawing for someone to win one of these shot glasses and one of the handkerchiefs. All right, here's another one. Hopefully this one's a little bit tougher, but somehow I don't think it's going to be. And this one came from, looks like Janice in Nampa, asking how many people had been executed at the old penitentiary.
Well, I'm going to give you a few numbers here.
Okay.
There were 0 women executed.
Okay.
There was 1 man executed by the territorial prison. There were 6 men executed in the Rose Garden. There was 2 men executed where the Botanical Gardens is right now, which was yard number 2. And there was 1 man executed in number 5 house in the gallows that were there. So 10 total. Was that record time?
It was. And I think it was a little bit of showing off, too.
I can't help it. 15 years I've been there. I pour my heart and soul in this thing.
Well, Amber, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do there. Thank you for all the kids and that have come through and have been able to learn the significance of our history and that history of our old penitentiary.
We
So
hope
thank
everybody
you.
can help us preserve it today.
That's why we're all here. So come on, together we can be able to make that difference in our landscape that we don't want this to change. As you're coming up Old Penitentiary Road, that's the first thing you see is the Guard Tower 1. That's what we're preserving tonight. And again, we've talked about there's so many layers to this. It's the history of the architecture and this beautiful landscape that it presents. But then of the inmates and their stories and what got them there, and in some cases got them out or not. But then also the staff, like the prison guards.
That's right. I mean, this really is about the human experience, and that's what we do each and every day is make sure those human stories are being told. So people understand maybe why that place feels heavy, and there's a sense of that. And of course, yes, the guards that worked there, they were all part of that in Guard Tower 1.
And now and I'm not sure what year was this from with the audio interview that we were able to get from a couple of the guards.
Right. We have some audio, I know, from an interview in 1992, and that's
Okay.
something that's ongoing, where we're constantly seeking out those former employees and former inmates to get their stories. So nothing beats hearing it from them.
Now, if maybe someone's watching or someone knows someone, how could they contact the old penitentiary?
Absolutely, through our Facebook page, oldidahopenitentiary.com, finding us at history.idaho.gov. We want to hear your stories. This is about that human experience, and we just want to be the conduit to tell it.
And right now, we want you to be able to hear and experience these 2 guards in their own words and their own voice, talking about some of the experience with the old penitentiary.
Did you go to work right away?
Yes, I went to work right away in number 1 tower. 12-hour shifts there, and we had to sleep here every other night.
Did you get training or advice or any kind of preparation for?
Very little. Very little. We had to, we played it by ear, you know, and.
Could you describe for me your first day of work out here?
I came about 12 o'clock. I had to go to work at 2. Deputy Warden Carey told me that I had to buy me some khaki shirt and pants. And he gave me 3 patches to go on the shirt sleeves and gave me a badge and says, here's the shotgun and a rifle, and you have to relieve 1 tower guard down. That was the extent of my whole training and everything else. If anybody tries to go over the wall, shoot them.
It's one thing to get to read the history of some of these stories, but actually hear the voice and to hear the inflection of the actual people telling the story makes it even more special. Now, if you haven't already, make sure and go to the Old Penitentiary on Idaho Penitentiary on Facebook and like that. Also, thank you to C. Smith, $500 donation came in. E-Self, $600. Thank you so very much. Janet Gallimore, $500. That's amazing. And now, if you haven't already, please text the word Old Pen, all one word, to 22454. So Old Pen to the number 22454, and you get that link, and you can be able to make your donations. You can bid on the items and show your support for Guard Tower 1 and the Old Penitentiary and our history that we have as a great state of Idaho. Now, let's see here. We were telling you about the registration drawing, and we are at that time right now. It looks like the drawing just happened, and Ron Abramovic. Ron, I am so sorry for what I just did to your name, because I know it was not okay. But Ron, thank you. Those are 2 words you're going to hear a lot tonight, everyone is, and you can't possibly hear them enough because they don't seem quite enough to show the gratitude for your support in preserving this iconic piece of history. So Ron, congratulations. Please enjoy your $100 Amazon gift card, and go ahead and get a bunch and enjoy that with your friends and your family. And for everyone else, let's keep these bids coming in. You know, I was talking about I lost track of how many times I've been and enjoyed with family and friends the Old Penitentiary. But in all of those times, this last time was a little bit different.
Welcome to the Idaho State Penitentiary. Here's your stripes. You're a number now. Go in there and change.
I'm not sure where it all went wrong, but you know, well, you got to hear earlier from Jan, and now I brought Jan out here with us because, again, when we're talking about the people and what helped to preserve this grand history that we have as a great state, and this year, of course, with the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts, each year is a different thing to preserve. You know,
absolutely. The Historical Society has amazing collections at our State Museum, our state archives, and of course, a lot of historic buildings.
Well, and when you talk about historical things, as we've mentioned so often, it's such, and you had mentioned earlier, that beacon that it is, because as you are coming down Old Penitentiary Road, it's right there.
It is a landmark. It surely is.
Well, and some of the ways that you can be able to help make a huge difference in preserving this history and get us to that total that we're looking for tonight is by getting your bids in on our silent auction. And you can do that if you haven't already. Get registered. Just text the word Old Pen, all one word, no spaces, to the number 22454, and that'll get you all in there. Now, I think Kayla was saying we had a couple of winners that just came in from our Stump Amber as well, so congratulations to them. Thank you so much. Oh, we've got 3 winners. Okay, Annette Shumway. Thank you, Annette, and congratulations for being so darn smart. Allison Rose Espindola and Heather Whitehead. So congratulations to all 3. You've got that fabulous handkerchief and the shot glass and the knowledge of knowing that you have been part of this very first virtual Wine, Eats, and Artifacts. Now, Jen, one of our items that are coming up is such a incredible experience. And that's the dinner, of course, with the 2 astronauts. But these are things that the average person doesn't normally get to do, and the stories they must have.
Yes, this is one of those things that is really out of this world, of course. Barbara Morgan and Ellen Ochoa are very famous Idaho women astronauts. They will be featuring their program. They'll be doing a talk a little bit about how they worked on the International Space Station. They are fabulous and they're funny. And it's also the opportunity for everybody to come and see the Trailblazing Women of Idaho exhibition, which opens next March. And these 2 women are part of that exhibition. So not only do you get dinner, you get to enjoy them, but then they're going to walk up into the exhibit and show everyone their artifacts that they've donated for the exhibit that night. So it's going to be amazing.
You know, one of the things when I first saw this, besides going, that little 10-year-old in me going, astronauts, I want to do this. Well, then the 50-year-old version of me still says, I want to do this because how cool. But it got me thinking back when I was a kid and, you know, all the things that as a kid you think about on different things. And so astronauts, I was always like, oh, Tang and, you know, freeze-dried moon food or something. And I thought, that doesn't sound very good. I know your dinner is going to be much better than Tang and freeze-dried food, but it also then kind of, because it's the way my brain works, it got me thinking about the food at the Old Pen back in the day and some of the extreme measures that they would go to create their own culinary surprises.
Hey friends, we're coming at you live from the Old Idaho Penitentiary in the top floor of number 4 cell house. Today we're creating a recipe from prison ramen, recipes and stories from behind bars, a collection of homemade delicacies from actual prisoners collected by Clifton Collins Jr. and Gustavo Goose Alvarez, and featuring interviews and stories and recipes from actors including Samuel L. Jackson, Taryn Manning, Shia LaBeouf, and recipes including page 17, sweet and crunchy salad, which we're going to be making with you today. So we've got the ingredients here. We've got some chili flavored ramen, some butter, a packet of sweet and low, some salad mix, some green salad mix, garlic powder, strawberry jelly, honey, chili sauce, soy sauce, water, Coca-Cola, and some pork rinds, all things that a prisoner would have access to in his local commissary. So we're gonna start by grabbing a couple packets of this chili-flavored Moroccan ramen noodle soup and crushing them up into a bowl.
edible. My college self would never have made this, but it's delicious.
Makes me feel like I could handle prison.
Well, I'm glad my incarceration was very brief while I was there at the old pen, because I don't think I would have made it on prison ramen. I guess if you get hungry enough, is that the old saying? All right, so another one of our great items as we're making our way through the program, we've just got a little bit of time left, so a little bit of time for you to get your bids in. And one of those items, number 306, again, such an incredible personalized experience for you. You get to have a personalized conversation with the Idaho State archaeologist. We're talking about Lindsay Johansson, state archaeologist and director of the Archaeological Survey of Idaho. And so you are going to be able to pick your topic, what you want to be able to talk about an expert, talk about the history, talk about all the things in whatever area, whether that's Shellbach Cave, or maybe the cave sites, some of the cave sites in Idaho. You pick some of the items that you would like to be able to find out more about, and you get to have this personalized experience. Now, when you're going to do the bidding, the couple of restrictions that apply, you can read all about that at item number 306. So go ahead and get your bids in and check out all the rest of the great items while you're on there as well. Thank you to B. Krupp, $250. That is amazing. Thank you so much. A. Hennessy at $200. That bid just came in, and we just can't say thank you enough for your generosity and your support. And when we talk about experiences and things you don't get to normally be able to have the experience, and especially when our experiences here as of late have been a lot of making our way from the kitchen to the living room and then to the backyard and repeat. Experiences are great to be able to have. And one of those experiences that will always be near and dear to me while I was there after I got, sprung, Amber took me into a spot there at the dining hall that was damaged in the fire. The one there that normally we can just look at from the outside down. Well, she got to take me down and in to the dining hall. And here it was.
Welcome to the Old Idaho Penitentiary.
Well, I am so excited because being such a huge fan of the old penitentiary here that I have been through the tour I don't know how many times. I bring family and friends whenever they're in town, and this is a must-see. And this, right now, is something I've never gotten to do. I don't think most people get to do. And that's actually not just seeing the mess hall here at the old penitentiary, but being down here inside where the inmates would have been. Amber, thank you so much.
Of course, welcome, yes.
So here with the mess hall, it's such a cool yet tragic story all at the same time about the architecture here.
Right, which is, the tale of the penitentiary itself, right? So yeah, we get all these rich textures, and then you hear George Hamilton was an inmate, and he actually designed this building, oversaw the construction, so he was the architect of the building, and then the inmates actually helped in the construction of this building. George does such a phenomenal job that they say, we're gonna give you an early release. Now, a little bit of George's backstory is he was brought here on, grand larceny charges, and what happened was he was an addict. He was addicted to alcohol and morphine, and he knew that the structure within prison, and doing this great building, he felt rewarded by that, and he actually didn't want to leave. But of course, they assured him, you're doing great. Just got to leave the state of Idaho. He makes it as far as Nampa, which of course is about 30 miles away or so. And he took his own life the day after he was released. And so you see that in the movies, Shawshank Redemption, and he was just overcome, and he literally went right back to his addictions. And so he overdosed on morphine. And it's really the tragic tale that sometimes happens here. Of course, there are other good stories that happened as well.
Right. Well, and definitely, kudos to George and his legacy here in the architecture of this. And this is just one of the many, including, of course, the guard tower that we're talking about here for this event. And there's lots of areas, obviously, with the age of everything, things have to be maintained. They have to be, no matter how well they were constructed ahead of time.
Absolutely. Well, this building was burned in the 1973 riot. So it really is a testament to George's work and the work of the inmates that helped in the construction that it still even stands. These are ways that we do preserve the site. So, these cables and things are intended to save our guests, save the building as much as possible whenever there is, say, an earthquake or something like that. So these things fall to the inside, but we can preserve it at the same time. And that's exactly what we're doing with the tower today.
That was such an incredible experience, and one that I hope you enjoyed as well, seeing that different perspective. It's the same thing that we've always seen, just from a different angle. And it's kind of like our history, when you get all the different layers of our history, and not just one piece or another piece, but you start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and really becomes so fascinating and so much for us to learn. Now, Jan came back out here with me so that we could be able to talk about another incredible experience that she's going to be a part of with you as well. But now, as we're talking about this, I want to make sure you know that, yes, you do not have to worry about and Jan, you've probably been to a gala before where you had your sheet there with this item that you really want, and you had been bidding on it, and then all of a sudden you walk away to go back to your table. And what does someone do? They just sneak up right behind you and they outbid you. Well, it's kind of what we want them to do because we're trying to raise money. But sometimes you lost out on items because you just didn't see them sneak up behind you. Well, you can't do that with this because you are going to get a notification when you get outbid. You're going to be able to go back and have plenty of time at your leisure because we've got a whole nother week for you to be able to continue bidding on these great items. And even once it gets down to the bid war on the 24th, it's still at that time, once the bid war hits, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch and it's fun to be a part of, because in that final 10 minutes, every bid that comes in, it's going to extend that time just a little bit more with each bid until there is only one person left for this item. And it's quite exciting. So with all of that in mind, you can be able to get that, but there's also some of the items that have a buy it now button. Well, like the Governor Little, the lunch with the governor and the first lady, it had a buy it now. There was some great interest and people bidding away. And then all of a sudden someone said, yeah, no, I'm just going to buy it now. So we thank you very much to Roy Agarin. Roy Agarin did the buy it now. And Roy, enjoy that lunch with the governor and the first lady as well. And so, Jan, we're going to be talking about this incredible experience of the Capitol. I think a lot of us, most people, have been to the Capitol. They've seen it coming down Capitol Boulevard. Some have been inside and seen the fabulous marble and all that. But to have this kind of tour that you're going to be able to bid on at number 302, this is a whole different experience.
Well, Corey, it's arguably the most important historic building in our state, and this tour is going to be fabulous. It's going to be Andy Erstead and Andy Erstead of Erstead Architects, and he's also the chairman of the Capitol Commission, and he's been that since 2009. So Andy knows all of the stories about this building, where the marble came from all over the world, how the inmates quarried the sandstone and brought it down to be used in the building. And he knows all of the secrets of many stories that are politicians and other people. So Andy's going to be giving everyone some great stories. We're going to be on the 5th floor where the public doesn't get to go. We'll be on the catwalk. We'll be able to walk outside around the They're right underneath the dome, have a beautiful view of the city. So Andy's going to tell some great stories. I'm going to talk about exhibits and why do we have Winged Victory in the Capitol, and so great stories there for us to share.
So there you go. Get those bids right now. Do not miss out on this at number 302. And bid often, bid high. We want to be able to get as much as possible to be able to preserve tonight what we're talking about with Guard Tower 1. And that's what this is all about. And here's Amber to tell us a little bit more about the significance of the tower. And again, give us a little different view of the tower as well.
Welcome to the Old Idaho Penitentiary. I'm here at Tower 1, a tower that we want your help in preserving. Now, these towers would have been numbered 1 through 4, and so they started counterclockwise. So that's why it's tower number 1. The wall, along with the towers, would have been completed in 1894 under the supervision of J.P. Campbell, the warden at the time. We've actually got some great photos of Mr. Campbell with the construction going on in the background. The history of this tower is the history of the site. I mean, it's important, of course, for the guards and everything that went behind protecting and overseeing the inmates and the site itself. We're asking you to help us out and make sure that it stays around for a long time. You can see, obviously, these doors are gone. The windows have been damaged here. Of course, the guards would have looked through this window right here to go through down the wall and see if there was anyone that was trying to escape and look over. Not a lot of escapes occurred, maybe 1 or 2 a year, and so they got bored quite frequently. And so right where I'm standing, there's actually some guard graffiti. They would chisel their names, chisel the year that they were here. So there's all sorts of things that help us tell the story better, and that's why it's so important to preserve this for future generations. Not only that, but the architecture in and of itself is just so valuable and important to Boise and Idaho's history. We want to make sure that we're preserving this for future generations to interpret the site, interpret the history, and understand the importance of what we do here. So we need your help today to preserve our past and make sure that it's here for future generations.
Again, another view that none of us have gotten to experience, that up the same way the guards would have seen that when they were up and patrolling the walls and at the towers and protecting the inmates and also society from the inmates as well. It's such an iconic piece of history, and why, again, in case we haven't been able to really nail that down enough, because we can't stress enough how important honoring our history, learning from our history is. And Amber and I, when we were down in the dining hall, got a few more minutes to be able to talk about that significance. Yes, the architecture is beautiful, and it's amazing to look at the history and hear the stories and all of that, but there's so much more than just these cool buildings and cool architecture. When you come here to the Old Penitentiary, it really meant so much more for social justice here for the state of Idaho, and really an example for the nation.
That's exactly right. We want to connect the history of this site to what's going on today. It's so important for us to make those connections from the past to the present. And so there are all those themes and ideas of social justice. That's why there are prisons in America. That's why there was a prison in Idaho. We make the laws as the people, and then we also decide the punishments of those going to prison. So, you know, when there are laws that maybe seem outdated or antiquated now, we can look back and try to understand why those were in place then. Why did it make sense? And how can we maybe, if those were mistakes, not make those mistakes anymore? Or if maybe it's something that we should go back to. We can learn so much by looking at the treatment of the inmates, by looking at how it changed from
sheer punishment, making it as horrible as possible in isolation, to rehabilitative programs. If these are people today, it's an important fact to note that 97% of people that commit crimes who are in prison will get out again. Those become our neighbors, they become the people that work for us and with us, and so it behooves us all to really make sure that we've got a system that makes sense. And if we don't have the historical context, then we're not going to understand why we got to this place, why mass incarceration is such a problem. So we can look to the Old Idaho Penitentiary, the stories that occurred, and really make our mark today with the context of the past. And we hope to do that all the time. And really preserving the buildings is the first step in making sure we can do that.
Well, see, there you go. Even one more reason why we all come together for this, why it is so important to preserve this amazing, really jewel of the valley and of the state of Idaho. So you can be able to be a huge part of that right now. If you haven't started bidding yet, go ahead, text the code on the screen. You'll be able to get logged in and ready to start bidding and help to preserve all of this history. And it's for all of us. That's the beauty of our history, the beauty of the old pen, of the Capitol, and all these great historical monuments and buildings and things that have such a rich significance to our history. It is for all of us, but it also then requires all of us together to be able to preserve that history, to learn from it, and to grow into the next generations for our kids, our grandkids, and the generations to come. Now, we've come to a point here in the program where it's, we've talked about the history, we've talked about the different layers and all of that, and some of the wonderful items that we have on the online auction. But this moment, this is a time that, not because of an item, but just because of the significance of Guard Tower 1, the significance of our history, that you want to be able to give just to help preserve that history. You go to item number 101, and here's a way for you just to be able to give. And when we're talking about giving and restoring this iconic piece of Idaho history, it's more than just, okay, we want to put in a retaining wall at our house, and we go down to the big box store and we buy the stuff and we do it. Well, no, not when you're talking about historical buildings. It has to be able to be preserved with its history in the way that it was built in 1894. So those things, to be able to preserve the historical integrity of all of these items, and in this case, the Guard Tower 1, it's not cheap. It requires extra tender, loving care that we don't need in just our home. I mean, to show you, $2,500 right now, if you are blessed with the ability to be able to give $2,500 at item number 101, Save the Tower, that $2,500 is going to be a little over half of one of the doors. Each one of the doors of the tower costs approximately $4,000 to manufacture, to preserve the standards of the time for the architecture. So it's going to take two to be able to get just one of those, and then towards the second door as well. Now, $1,000, maybe $2,500 is a little more than you have right now. I understand. But $1,000 is going to help fund a window. Each of the 7 windows will need to be manufactured, again, using the same techniques that were used in the late 1800s to be able to get this. It's not something where you can just go buy a vinyl window and slap it in there. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't continue the rich history and the accuracy of our history by doing that. Now, $500, each of the capstones are going to cost approximately $500. So each of those stones around the capstones, $500 a piece to get them historically accurate. Now, $250, and oh, hang on, I am just seeing that we had a $1,000 matching donation at this level. So you're really going to be able to make your money work, because at the $250 level right now, your $250 at item number 101 is going to become $500 because of our matching donation. If you want to go ahead and pony up $500 right now, that's going to become $1,000, all the way up to that $1,000. So 4 $250 donations right now, that is going to become $2,000 because of your generosity and the generosity of our matching donation. So thank you so much as those are coming in. We got $2,500 from D. Bates. $2,500. Thank you so much. $1,000 with Ernie and Carol Hoydal. $1,000. Thank you. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Carol. It's because of you. And I know we've had a lot of comments of people that have said, I wish I could do more. I'm sorry. Please don't ever apologize. You give what you have the ability to give. And it's not about the number. There is no donation too small. And, well, there's no donation too large either. But together, each of these donations is what is going to be able to make the miracles happen of preserving our history. So $250, and we have the $1,000 match on it right now. Each of the roof tiles, now when you look at the architecture of the tower there, and the roof tiles, and so you see there's a significant number of them around there. Each tile costs about $200, each one. Do the math there on how much that's going to be. And so with this, at the $100 level, we just got someone else that we just got another $1,000 matching donation for the $100 level. This is awesome. So for every $100 donation, that's going to become $200. So if you have the ability to do 100 with the matching donations, $200, and you can really make your money work getting to saving guard tower number 1. We got our $250 bid in from Mary Ann. Mary Ann, thank you, because your donation just became $500. Still $250 to you, but because of the matching donation, $500 to the Old Pen and to saving guard tower number 1. $100 from T. Canada. So $100, that is great, and that just became $200 because of our second. So you see how really these matching donations, really this is the time right now to get your bids in. And as I had mentioned a few minutes ago, there isn't an amount too small. So don't ever apologize. Don't ever feel bad. Please give what you can. And item number 101, you can put in a custom amount, whatever amount that happens to be. Maybe you want to make an amount that is significant to you or significant to your family. Maybe how many times you've been to the pen. And I've been there probably 20 times. Well, maybe $5 for each time you were there, $100 for the great memories that you were able to have and in the history that you were able to learn. So if you make it special to you, to your family, it's a great way to be able to teach the kids about history and the significance of preserving that as well. So it is item number 101, as together we save Guard Tower 1.
The Old Idaho Penitentiary is an anchor in our Boise community and is a unique part of the Idaho story. As one of only 4 territorial prisons in the country that is accessible to the public, the Old Pen is a beacon to over 500,000 visitors every year. Telling the story of the Old Idaho Pen through the lens of the human story helps those visitors learn and expands their perspectives and perhaps even their empathy for others. It's a story not about heroes or villains, but about place and the human experience, which is why it's so important for us to continue to preserve it. Guard Tower 1 was built in 1894. But unfortunately, 126 years of facing the elements and occasional vandalism has severely damaged the structure. Tonight, we are raising money to repair and restore this iconic symbol so that future generations will get to experience its power. Donate now, and remember, history surrounds us, and by protecting, preserving, and understanding that history, we span the past, the present, and the future.
Well, we're coming down to the final moments here of our Wine, Eats, and Artifacts, our very first virtual Wine, Eats, and Artifacts. But the bidding, that is going to continue for the next week through the 24th at 10 p.m. 9:50 is when the bid wars are going to start, but looks like a few people have already kind of started their early bid wars right now. The Walkabout, number 305, there's one bidder, ZQQM, and R Coil, that are going back and forth right now. And we love seeing that. Now, I'm sure ZQQM and R Coil, you'd like a little less back and forth. We love the back and forth because it means the next person that comes in is outbidding, and it continues to go. So as far as I'm concerned, bid high, bid often. Let's keep it going for this next week, and let's make as much as possible, because together I know we can more than get the total that we need to be able to preserve Guard Tower 1, its rich history for years and years to come, to where our grandkids are taking their grandkids and still able to tell the incredible story of the social justice, of the individuals, of the architecture, and how important history is for all of us. Thank you so much to Diana Burrell. Okay, Deanna did $100. Then also $100 for N Squires. Bill, another $250. Mary Ann, $1,000. The bidding still going back and forth on number 305 over here. So this is when all the excitement gets going, as people start going, no, this is mine. I'm going to get this. No, I'm going to get this. So please, I encourage you to continue, and I want you to get it. I want you and you alone. So whoever outbids you, just outbid them. I said it was okay. Okay, we'll see how your spouse feels about that. No, I know that together we're all going to have incredible experiences, incredible items that we're going to be able to have, and to remember what a wonderful evening this has been for the Wine, Eats, and Artifacts. And now, as you're getting into the end of the program here together with all of us, remember that you do still have that week, but it's okay. You don't have to remember every time, because you can be able to set up your bidding and do auto bidding. If there's an item you really want, and hey, this is a good one for, and maybe that's what ZQQM and R Coil have going with the Walkabout, is you can set a high amount, whatever your high amount is that you would be willing to go for the items. This way, you don't even have to watch, because as people outbid you, it will just outbid them automatically like that. Little small increments all the way until it hits your bid total that you were willing to do. Then you'll get a notification that you have been outbid by your high bid, and giving you time to go back and either set a new auto bid amount or to get back into the game and do it live against them for a little while. That is all up to you. One thing I can say, and I told you were going to hear it a lot, and that's thank you. Thank you for your generosity, your passion for our history, and for this iconic symbol, a piece of our landscape that we shouldn't ever do without. So keep that bidding coming in. Thank you to, let's see here, it looks like we have another $100 donation that got then matched to another 100, so $200 total. And right now, with still a week to go for the bidding, still have all the way to the 24th at 10 p.m. Bid wars at 9:50. $19,070. So we are already 2/3 of the way to the goal that we need to be able to preserve Guard Tower 1. And you know what? It's because of you, and it's because of your generosity. So thank you. Thank you so much. And on behalf of myself, Corey Michaels, Auction Frogs, Elsberg Studios, of course, the Foundation for Idaho History and the Idaho Historical Society, thank you, bless you, and keep those bids coming in. Bid high, bid often.